Why would
Sorry.
Japan attack in the first place?
Question.
Why would Japan attack in the first place?
Well, that's a great question. So Japan was in the middle of expanding its empire in the Pacific, and they had a lot of natural resources in French Indochina, which is today Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, China, and they wanted to expand their empire so that they could use these natural resources, fuel, minerals, steel, everything you need to make buildings and ships, and to actually make an army viable. And so the problem was the Americans' allies had a lot of colonies. So like I said, the French, which was an American ally, had colonies in Vietnam and French Indochina, which is today, again, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. So there was a conflict there because the Japanese wanted to take over these areas and exploit the resources that they had, but the United States didn't want to stand idly by and allow them to do so because they had their own interests in that part of the world, as did their allies. So it was almost a ticking time bomb because you had two different world powers struggling to preserve their own interests. And the United States moved its fleet from California to the Hawaiian Islands, the Pacific Fleet. And Japan saw that as an act of aggression. They saw that as, hey, now you have your Pacific Fleet just several thousand miles from the Japanese coast. And so they conducted this surprise preemptive attack, and their goal was to basically cause the United States military to need to rebuild the Pacific Fleet, which they thought would take a couple of years. And in that time, they felt they could finish their exploitation of that part of the world. And there was a very large American response, industrial. A lot of civilians went into different jobs, and the American response was they suspected the Americans might not be willing to fight as hard as they did. There's a lot of other stuff going on in Nazi Germany and in Europe at the same time. But the United States decided, and its leaders and its military members decided that they wanted to pursue the war in the Pacific, which ended up in the final surrender on the Missouri in 2 September 45. So about 4 years later, it's a long, bloody, and horrible event for millions and millions of people across the world.